Welcome to this Typewriter Broke. This is going to be an exploration of typewriters and a few other things that occur to me related to whatever I'm looking at. And as you look at this video, it's like it doesn't seem to be much going on there until the head moves and the tail twitches, and now it's on the move, and then suddenly there's a second one, and you never know what you might see out here. And with this channel, you'll never really know what you're going to get. But we're going to start with, this being the first video, an early typewriter. It's a 1923 three-bank Underwood. We're going to and I have a cat, which is meowing through my monologue here. And we'll read a quote from Pablo Neruda. He owned a three-bank Underwood, and I'm always intrigued by writers who use a particular instrument, so imagining him writing his very romantic poetry on such a thing. And we'll also read a poem of his favorite poet on a theme of being lucky. Now, the music that's been playing in the background of all of this is actually off a 78 RPM that ran on a gramophone, Cariola, which is also about 100 years old. So that's where we're at.
The one that you love is in love with you. That's the greatest of blessings I find. You don't know how lucky you
Pablo Neruda is quoted as saying, "I have been a lucky man. To feel the intimacy of brothers is a marvelous thing in life. To feel the love of people whom we love is a fire that feeds our life. But to feel the affection that comes from those whom we do not know, from those unknown to us, who are watching over our sleep and solitude, over our dangers and our weaknesses, that is something still greater and more beautiful, because it widens out the boundaries of our being and unites all living things." So here's the Underwood three-bank. It's a three-bank because it has 3 levels of keys. A little later on they made the 4-bank because it had 4. So the setup is pretty simple. It's a carriage lift. So when it's down, the letters are lowercase. Hit the caps, and that'll be capital letters on either side. And then figure, it goes up 2 levels, and those are the numbers and punctuation and fractions and stuff like that. So here we can focus in, and you can see it's either a lowercase z, uppercase Z, or a 1/2 in this one. Underwood units, the older ones, are really quite easy to work on. I know a lot of people are intimidated by taking these things apart, but I've found them to be somewhat indestructible. In the early 20s, if you take a look at the front, this was much lower, and then as it went on into the 20s, they made this a little higher. So you can tell the oldies from the newer ones. This is one of the first years where it was raised up. So what's wrong with this? Really not too much. When I first got it, paper did not go in the platen very well, which is typical on old machines because they have flat spots on the rollers and things like that. So I took the platen out. There's a screw in here that you take out. The spindle comes out. It goes all the way to the other end. But I took the platen out and the rollers and used some really fine sandpaper. I did that on the spots that were flat and on the platen and on the rollers, and now it works fine. It's obviously 100-year-old platen's going to be hard, so whatever, but it does accept paper now. Okay, so to prove it accepts paper, there we go. It has these little things. It doesn't really have a paper bail, which, whatever. Those are newer things. I also put in a new black silk ribbon. So let's do and the thing with this return, it's not like you can just hit it. You have to squeeze it here to do the index as well as the return. But it, once you get used to it, it's not too bad. We have backspace. That works. Now the thing, okay, what's wrong? The cap, it has a lock here, and it's very sensitive. It comes off. If I do the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, it'll undo. So I'll have to do this. So here's the type test, and the top two lines show improper alignment, and the bottom two lines are pretty great. The difference is the top two were printed on the black setting. This machine allows for 2-color ribbons, and so the black setting, it's uneven and bad alignment, and the bottom two are the red setting, and it seems really fine. So for my purposes, I don't really care too much about it, but it's probably a screw you can adjust somewhere to change the alignment, or maybe it's the platen. The platen is really old, so it might not be striking particularly evenly. Those are options. Black ribbon. So I don't much care. When you do use the red setting, the the ribbon has to reach higher up because usually the red is on the bottom, and so it has to go up higher. That action with the vibrator going up higher takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more time, so you can't type as fast. But that's darn nice accuracy in the typing, I think, for a 100-year-old unit. I mean, crazy, right? A couple other things wrong, though, of course. So before we get to the thing that's wrong, let's look at the case, which is in incredibly good condition. That is really a nice handle. I probably wouldn't carry it by the handle, but that's really beautiful. And that's great. Really, looking at the top, the corners, it's amazing. It's an amazing example of a 3-bank with a case. But, and here's the inside. The label in there is Belmont Avenue. Might be Chicago. No, this Graceland is part of the telephone number, so an old service label in there. But just really, really great shape on the case. So the feet in back slide in to this part here, and then the feet in front have a screw that goes down through the foot that fits in here. Now, somebody's used cork. I don't believe cork was original, but it certainly works. So I'm thinking that might cut that off, might actually serve for the back ones. This is Solvig, one of my favorite gin. Yum. I've found gin and tonics very refreshing lately. I don't know, all that ice and lime. But anyway, we'll maybe use that to fix this. It's a minor thing, really. It's whatever works. And these are supposed to slide in and out. And somebody fashioned that. To just slide into this space, and I think that might be too big, but we'll see. There are a lot of quirks out there in the world. One of Neruda's favorite poets was Francisco de Quevedo, who lived 1580 to 1645. And he happens to have a poem, Lucky You. Lucky you, happy in your cabin. Young and old you breathe the pure breeze, and the straw roof, the reed floor serve as grave and cradle. In that solitude, the free, silent sun bathes you with a light more sure. There remains more space for the life of every day, and the hour voicelessly deceives you. You do not count the years by consoles. You make your harvest, your calendar. You pace your entire world without deceit. You benefit by all you do not know. You do not yearn for prizes, nor suffer pain, and you expand however much you are constrained. Thanks for joining me, and I'll end with a short poem by Pablo Neruda, Keeping Quiet. Now we will count to 12, and we all keep still for once on the face of the earth. Let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for a second and not move our arms so much. It'd be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it's about. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now I'll count up to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go.